that Labor's turn-back policy is compromised. Do you agree with that?
Well, I think there are two things, Andrew, that you've got to remember before you get to that very important point, and that is that no Australian should ever feel embarrassed about what Australia is doing in relation to refugees. We are well up there with the best in the world, and secondly, we should never assume that everyone who gets on a boat to come to Australia or crosses the Mediterranean to go to Europe comes straight off Schindler's List. What I reckon about the weekend's Labor Party conference is two things. Firstly, I don't think Labor understands at all the comprehensiveness of the policy that the coalition has put into practice and which has been successful, and I don't think that they have any idea of the importance of resolve in coming up with a policy and making that policy work.
Well, on your first point then, why do you think they don't understand the policy as it stands?
Because they're overly concerned with turnbacks or offshore processing or TPVs. They don't yet realise, and they're in exactly the same situation as Europe. I've just been involved for some weeks in the controversy in Europe, in Italy, Germany and the UK, in relation to illegal crossings, uncontrolled crossings of the Mediterranean. Europe keeps saying, oh, Australia's lessons aren't for us. And I say, yes, I agree with you. They're not for you until Europe realises that the issue is not turnbacks or offshore processing. Europe must realise that the issue is control of its borders. Once you realise that it is border control that's a big issue, then of course you can start looking at what achieves border control. And we can get on to resolve later, but if you want to look at the consequences in Europe of them not yet realising that they've got to control their borders, it's the rise of the right, it's financial problems, it is friction within their societies, and it is the building of barriers between countries. So that's about comprehensiveness, Andrew.
OK, so you're arguing that perhaps the ALP does not have the resolve to implement these policies because essentially the party is split on the issue.
That's part of it, and that goes into resolve. But I don't think they yet understand the importance of each individual part. And that's the point I make on comprehensiveness. It's not about turnbacks, it's about border control. But in relation to resolve, I think it's going to be very, very difficult for them. We've seen Kevin Rudd in the past make similar statements in 2007. We've seen continual failures. The only record that the poor ALP's got on this is a record of failure.